What's going on, guys? Welcome back here to another installment of Honest and Uneducated, the show where we talk about anything from movies, movie news, video games, comic books, collectibles, all sorts of fun stuff like that. There's a lot of information here to talk about. The Flash League, Suicide Squad's first reviews came out. That's looking really good. Some Obi-Wan news, which that's been my I've been most excited for anything Star Wars related, other than the Alkalite. We will 100% be the Obi-Wan series. The fact that Ewan McGregor's coming back, prequel era Obi-Wan's probably my favorite Star Wars character, in all honesty. So I'm excited to get any information about that. Kevin Feige is talking about some multiverse stuff. Netflix is doing something with video games on their platform. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here today. And joining me to help break all this stuff down is none other than Rick Metz himself. How you doing today, Rick?
I'm good, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. We couldn't physically do it without you.
I mean, you could, but
Yeah, but we couldn't do it. No one go back and watch the episode the other week where he wasn't here and we totally did do it. But other than that, we can't do it without you. We also got John Knight here. How you doing today, John?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's I don't know, I'm a little tired. I just cut grass for about 4 hours, so
Yeah. My
It-
my lawnmower's broke, so I need to cut grass, but I haven't been able to cut grass.
I need to cut grass too.
But I've wasted a lot of time and energy trying to get my lawnmower working again. And to the point where I've started it so much that I've ripped the skin off my finger and
I saw that.
it's a pain in the ass. Because I'd rather get it working than go spend $300, $400, $500 on another mower.
I'm telling you, man, got to get electric.
oh yeah.
I'm not getting an electric mower.
I love my
I'm
electric
not.
mower.
I don't want to worry about having to charge it. I don't want to do that.
I have to charge it probably once every 2 cuts.
I'm very happy for you. And I'm glad
And
that
it's
it
great.
works for you. It's not for
How
me.
long does a charge last though?
It lasts a while.
I've got
my
like
friend-
almost an acre. Like I don't even think it would.
Yeah, there's no way you could do it.
My front yard takes about an hour to cut, and I have about a quarter of the battery left after a full charge if I do the full yard. So it's not too bad.
I just want, dude, I have a electric hedge trimmer. That thing dies before I'm done with one bush.
See, I've got all the Black & Decker electric leaf blower, weed whacker, this and that, power drill, and it all uses the same batteries, and that's great.
That's what mine is. And it doesn't even get through one of my hedges.
That's weird
Yeah,
because
my Black &
I got a
Decker
Black
stuff
& Decker
doesn't.
one, and it works fine. I also almost cut my fingertip off with it, but
See, I'm thinking that you're doing very small things with these things. I got big hedges.
I got some
You've
big
seen my
hedges.
hedges. They're 6 feet tall and 6 feet wide. They're massive.
they are big.
They're big. It
what she
takes a
said.
while to get through them. That's why I'm literally just going to go. I was going to use my chainsaw, but my chainsaw's broken. All my shit's breaking right now. This is annoying.
I know, I just saw a chainsaw sitting in your trash, and I was like,
Yeah, but yeah, I'm just gonna take a chainsaw to the hedge clippers, the hedges, because I don't want to just be easier at that point. I would cut the thing and shape it up. And plus, I've seen videos of pro hedge trimmer dudes on YouTube on an oddly satisfying compilation, and it's just a dude using a chainsaw on a hedge trimmer. Probably a lot more skilled than I'm gonna be with it, but I figure chainsaws is probably gonna be a lot easier to manage.
yeah.
Just
That's a great idea. I've got giant hedges in my yard and I want to cut them way back. And that I was going to get a hedge trimmer, but I've got a chainsaw. I just take that to him.
yeah.
Just be careful. I learned the hard way. I almost lost my finger
With the hedge trimmer or
with a
chainsaw?
hedge trimmer, yeah.
Well, that's what we're gonna use a chainsaw though.
A lot
so
of
we're not gonna have to
blood.
worry about that.
A lot
So-
of blood.
Yeah, there's also, before we get into any of these topics, rather, I do have to talk about Space Jam, because Space Jam just came out. I managed to get through it after, I don't know, it took me 2 days to get through it. Not 2 whole days, but I started watching it yesterday, when all y'all were over here, had it on in the background. Couldn't get through it. I mean, we had to leave and stuff. It was my daughter's birthday, so we were kind of going around, and I just had it on the background. Needless to say, it wasn't interesting enough at all for me to want to pay attention to it, in all honesty. But
Yeah.
from what I did watch, and I finished it this morning, it doesn't come to a surprise to me that the reviews are as bad as they are for it. Aside from honestly the movie, I'd say it's bad when the highlights of it, 'cause I guess I'll start with the good stuff, and the good stuff is literally just, like, the cameo appearances, like, in all honesty.
Oh, it's constant.
Like, and yeah, it literally is like a big commercial for HBO Max and Warner Brothers. The entire movie is just a commercial for Warner Brothers and HBO Max. Like, that's literally all it is. And unfortunately, even that part isn't even really done as well as it could be because they couldn't just focus on that stuff because then you're not gonna be paying attention to the movie. Like, at the very end, like, when the whole, like, basketball game is occurring, they fill the audience up with all of, like, these Warner Brothers characters, but they always keep the audience blurred so that you're not focused on trying to pick out who's in the crowd. Because that's what I find myself trying to do the entire time is like, "Who's this?" You see, like, Space Ghost and, King Kong, Iron Giant, the dudes from, Clockwork Orange are back there, Pennywise is there, and, like, sometimes these guys are, like, fully in frame and you see them, and it's more or less like someone in cosplay looking exactly like them as opposed to them, like, CG inserting like what's his name? Bill Skarsgård's
Yeah.
Pennywise in. It's the same Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise appearance, but it's like just a dude in them. It's not you can tell it's not Bill Skarsgård, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's but the best cameo 100% in that entire sequence, and they show him multiple times. And John, you'll love this. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze when
Yeah.
he's in the bathrobe. So, when I caught that, it was, like, the funniest shit, in the entire thing.
That's pretty cool.
It was
when he's
very cool, and then, like, he
when
was standing next to an agent, like, from The Matrix. What were you saying?
is that when he sings the Mr. Freeze song?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, when he's wearing that bathrobe, like, he's
Yeah.
right there, he's in quite a few shots, and, like I said, Pennywise in it, they put him in a few shots, and, the Burt Ward, Adam West Batman's, like, in some of the frames. You see the Mystery Machine at one point, but, I mean, that's the thing, like, at least for me, it was a good move for them to not have the background characters, like, in focus because that's all anybody would be doing. Because that's all I was trying to do, because nothing else was very interesting. Like, unfortunately, the kinda main overall plot was kinda like, meh. The unfortunately, too, the acting was not very great. Like, it
I
just,
wouldn't
like
expect it to
it
be.
wasn't very good. Like, from all camps, really, like, even, Don Cheadle in it was just, like, he was a little bit over the top and,
Yeah.
like, which is fine for that kinda movie, but it just everything seemed a little out of place. Like, LeBron James obviously is not a thespian, but, like, half the time he was being, like, ultra uber serious and, like, it just I don't know, it just a lot of it didn't work. The effects are really good. Like, I don't know,
Yeah,
like
they did good with that at least.
yeah, the effects are good. I wouldn't say it's like a dumpster fire, but it's just very I don't know, it wasn't very enjoyable. Like, it doesn't hold a candle to the original Space Jam. They
No.
do have a really funny bit where they're like, I don't wanna spoil anything, but because like, what I was saying before about the people in the crowd, that doesn't matter. Like I said, because it would've been cooler if, at least for me, if you could just kinda, like, try to pick out all the people in the crowd, but then no one would be watching the movie, so I don't know, but there is a really good bit that kinda references the first Space Jam that was, like, really good. So, like I said, I don't really wanna spoil it unless you guys don't care, then I can
I
give a
don't
spoiler
care.
warning. Like,
That's fine.
okay, so, spoiler warning while my hands up, if you really don't wanna be spoiled anything, this is the best joke in the entire thing. It's like, during the game, while my hands up, the spoiler's happening, I'll put it down when it's over. Um During the game, halftime comes and they're getting their ass kicked by the goon squad, and they go in the locker room and, like, they all, like, try to think of a plan, and the plan is to call Michael Jordan and get his help. So, like, I think it was Sylvester who goes and, like, tries to reach out to Michael Jordan, and, like, he does, and then all of a sudden, Michael Jordan's, like, coming into the locker room, but it's Michael B. Jordan.
Wrong
And
Michael
so it
Jordan.
was just like they got the wrong Michael Jordan, and it was in walks Michael B. Jordan. So, like, the way it played out was just kinda funny, and that
Yeah.
was, like I don't know, there was, like,
Well,
some good little jokes like that, but
that's why he goes by Michael B. Jordan, like, it
oh,
has
yeah,
to be,
100%.
like,
Yeah.
otherwise you're living a life being compared to a basketball player, but
Yeah. But yeah, so that was like the best little like joke in the movie. Like, and nothing really came of it. He just leaves right after that scene. It was there just for that. So that was it. That's the quick spoiler there, which it doesn't really affect the movie, but it was like the best little joke that I didn't obviously know to expect. So that was pretty.
Right.
But nevertheless, I would still recommend
Wait,
watching it. I'm sure kids would like it, but maybe.
Yeah,
were
I'm
the
sure it's a great.
cameos? I mean, was all the added stuff and the cameos? Was it? I mean, the most recent thing I can think of that I felt kind of like that was like Ready Player One, where they were just throwing everything
That was
into
how it
it.
was.
Was it kind of like that? Okay.
Yeah,
Like Spawn and
that's exactly how it was. It was like just
Okay.
that kind of thing. Like they were just
They
there.
really like it was cool to see them, but like they had no purpose being there really.
Yeah. Like, and there was the thing,
Okay.
like, the movie kinda starts out with, like, they need to, like, get the team, right? And LeBron's idea was, like this isn't really a spoiler because it's, like, obvious, but it's like, "Well, that's cool. Let's go get Superman and get King Kong, we can make the greatest basketball team ever if we can use all the best Warner Brothers characters," but, like, they Bugs Bunny's like, "Nah, we're using Looney Tunes, essentially." Like, and, like, so, like, you can't do that, and there is, like, a bit where, like, the animated Justice League's in it for, like, a couple seconds and,
yeah, I've
like,
never
that
seen
yeah,
that.
like, but none of it actually impacts the story, like, it inevitably just leads to the basketball game with the Looney Tunes, like, I was honestly surprised, and I may have just missed it, but I was looking out for a cameo of the actual Monstars from the first one.
Right.
Never
Mm,
saw them. Now, so I know at the end of the movie they turn back into little guys, so I may have just missed them because 'cause they're so small. I would find it really odd for them to have all these other, like, characters from the entire world of WB, but not have the Monstars in there at some point. So
Right.
I'm sure they were in there. If they're not, that's really weird, but I don't know. That was pretty much it. Like even like this, they were even referencing like Game of Thrones and stuff. Like you see
Yeah.
dragons flying through, and like it's
It literally says Game of Thrones at one point on the
yeah,
screen.
exactly. Like it
That
was really a big commercial. Like
that critic score and the audience score seem wildly different. I don't know
mhm.
if a lot of movies are like that or not, but that seems excessive. 50 points between the two of them.
I'd say 9 times out of 10, if not maybe 80% of the time, they're anytime I've seen, the scores are normally pretty close. For there to be that big of a gap, it's a little bit more rare. But again,
Mhm.
there's over 500 audience score, and there's over 500 reviews from the audience and only 135 reviews from critics. So really, it just means like what 1 in 30 people didn't like it or something ish. So
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
or 1 in 30 did like it. One or
Oh,
2.
man,
My brain's going
might be a little
backwards.
worse.
But yeah, but then the only problem is too with the audience score. I never really pay attention to them because you don't any I could go in there right now and post an audience score, and, like, I could have not
Sure.
seen the movie. Like, they have no verified
Sure.
way of doing it. Like, I'm not sure if they I don't know if it was I think Fandango makes you actually verify with, like, a ticket purchase if you're gonna leave a review. So, like, that would be a better one to use, but
Right.
nevertheless, they're normally not this disparaging, but if I do see it the most, it's honestly always a genre film. That, like, has, like, the most disparaging because like, a lot of times, if it's some, like, high art, like, critics piece, the audience score is normally lower than the critic score,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, but elsewise, the genre films normally have the disparaging balance. But that's just like when, like, Captain Marvel got, like, review bombed just by a bunch of people, like, for they obviously didn't see the movie, but
Mhm.
it is what it is. But, yeah, so that was Space Jam. That was a quick Space Jam review. I don't think it was as good as the first one. I would still like I'd say it's worth seeing just so you can see all the references, and there are some funny jokes, but not as much as I would have liked, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Mhm.
but it is what it is. But nevertheless, guys, do not forget before we get into our main topics here that you can submit topics and questions to the show by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. And then also every Wednesday, usually if I'm not behind, our collectible reviews go up. And so most recently, I did a little collectible, like kind of preview tour. So you can go check that out. That is up on the channel now. Then every Friday, we do live streams. So we talk, we review whatever the most recent show was. We hang out, we talk, play some video games. Maybe this all depends, but that's every Friday around like 9 p.m. Eastern time. So you come hang out with us. Then, but other than that, let's get into our first topic here. And our first topic, like I said off the top, is the Obi-Wan series. His most recent. I didn't even know Sun Kang was going to be in the Obi-Wan series until Rick stumbled upon this article here.
True.
But so I guess there's a little bit of news for everybody if you didn't know. So Sun Kang of Fast and Furious fame, he is reportedly starring in the Obi-Wan series, but this is like I would take this part with a grain of salt because it's they're stating that he is playing the fifth brother Inquisitor who was seen in the Rebels series. And the Inquisitors themselves, like Second Sister, was in the Jedi Fallen Order franchise. So the Inquisitors were like, if you've never seen any of them, I'm sure if you're watching this kind of show, you know what an Inquisitor is. But imagine a dark side lackey for the Emperor and Vader, essentially, more than anything. Because they weren't really classified as Sith, but they are Sith. So it's weird.
Technically,
because they have to try to stick to this rule of two garbage, they can't call them like Sith Lords. But they are Sith Lords. It just is what it is. Like it's nevertheless, they're just some lackeys for the Emperor and Vader, essentially.
They really are just like
that's all.
They're henchmen.
Yeah, they had them to go hunt and kill the Jedi after Order 66. But
they don't do too good.
They
do too
the
well.
clones did a better job.
Yeah.
Let's be real. The clones wiped most of them out. So, but in this article here, they are saying that Sun Kang is reportedly playing the fifth brother. Now, the only thing, this isn't necessarily, like I said, comes from what, Cinelix? Is that where it came from?
Something.
Yeah, okay. So Cinelix is who is reporting that Sun Kang will be playing an Inquisitor in general, but then specifically stating that he's playing the fifth brother. The only thing that I would say would be odd about this choice is that fifth brother in particular was kind of a big beefy dude. So if they were going to like make it, and you don't have to like really have like a likeness to an animated character by any means at all. But but in my opinion, he could have been any other Inquisitor. He could have been the Grand Inquisitor. And it would have made more sense physically to me. You know what I mean?
He would have been a good Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, like so even I don't know, I could honestly see the Grand Inquisitor as being more of like a French dude because he like fenced a lot.
Yeah.
If you remember, like from the Rebel show when he was like fucking with Ezra, he would like kind of use like fencing attacks with his lightsaber.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Nevertheless, though, just physically build wise, I don't really see him playing fifth brother. I find that as a very odd choice because he was, if I'm remembering correctly, a much bigger dude. But nevertheless, I'd be excited to see an Inquisitor in Obi-Wan. It makes sense that an Inquisitor would be in Obi-Wan because if Obi-Wan's hiding out, let's say, obviously we know from like current existing Star Wars lore, now granted they can go in and change any of this stuff, but no one knew he was on Tatooine hiding out. So it would make sense to like maybe an Inquisitor gets sent to Tatooine because there is rumors of someone with the Force there in general.
Right.
So Vader and the Emperor would send an Inquisitor there to check it out, and maybe he runs across Obi-Wan. That seems very plausible. Which it seems like they're kind of retconning the whole Obi-Wan and Vader had never having met during this stint on Tatooine. We know that Hayden Christensen is going to be in the series, and it's been said that they are going to have a rematch. So, presumably, this Inquisitor is going to die at the hands of Obi-Wan.
I would think so.
And then Vader is going to come down. That's my guess.
What'd you do to my dude?
That's my guess. But I would also kind of have to assume that Obi-Wan would then have to go off-world for this to happen. So maybe the Inquisitor comes across Obi-Wan off-world. That's been kind of one of my theories throughout this whole thing. And you guys can jump in here too whenever you want. My kind of theory with this is that because we know he survived on Tatooine and he was there the whole time until Luke was 16 years old, like in the Then, A New Hope goes on and does its thing. Like if he runs into Vader, it obviously could not be on Tatooine. Otherwise, it just kind of creates a dilemma and plot hole as to like, well, why did he just leave him there if he knows he was hiding out there?
Right.
So my theory has always been like something like I always thought like Satine reaches out to him and has to come, but I mean Satine dies, so it's
Yeah,
like
she's
you
dead.
can't really do that. But like maybe someone from Satine's lineage, like a what's her name, Bo-Katan reaches out to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe so he goes off world to assist somebody, and then that's how Vader comes across him, and they have the rematch. I don't really know. And it just seems like he would have to go off world for any of this to really work with the existing canon. But that's just me. The only other thing to really note in this article, and again, I would take this with a grain of salt as well, but this, I guess, in another story, this one's not the source isn't actually quoted in here, but they mention that there's been rumors that Bird Box's Vivian Lyra Blair has been cast as a young Leia in the series, which we kind of talked briefly about this, off camera before the show, that it kind of makes sense that a young Leia would be in there because we know a young Luke is reportedly going to be in there as well. Don't expect any dialogue from either of these characters. But if Leia's going to be there, the more interesting thing is that there would presumably be a Jimmy Smits cameo. So we'll probably see Bail Organa. Obi-Wan would likely have been in communication with Bail Organa.
You'd think so.
Well, if you know Rebels, they were in communication with Bail Organa. Bail Organa was Fulcrum, one of the Fulcrums. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fulcrum was the alias for any of the informants against the Empire. So Bail Organa was in constant contact with the Rebel Alliance, and then once Leia came of age, she was also in contact with them. So that would seem to make sense. So, Rick, you hear this information. Sun Kang supposedly going to be a fifth brother. Let's just say an Inquisitor in general, and reportedly also perhaps fifth brother. And then Leia's going to be in here. What stands out to you? You excited for any of this stuff?
I think it's cool. I think it'd be neat to see an Inquisitor in live action. I think Sun Kang actually would be a pretty good choice. Like now that I'm like kind of analyzing his look and all that sort of stuff, it'd be cool to see young Leia, like you said. I mean, if we're gonna have a young Luke, that would make sense. But he's not the one I was thinking. I was thinking of like the really beefy dude, or the really beefy girl. Actually, she's a
But it's fifth brother.
no, but there's a different sister that's like this big, beefy, like
that's
8 foot tall.
She was from Fallen Order.
Yeah. So,
But that wouldn't.
he doesn't really. He'd definitely make a much better Grand Inquisitor just from the
Yeah.
look of it.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't. And then the casting of having him be fifth brother is what I find to be quite odd. Like, because
I think it's ninth
he's a
sister.
bigger dude.
It's
Like,
the big one.
hmm?
I think it's ninth sister who's like the giant one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just doesn't. I don't see Sun Kang with that.
Yeah, he's not like a big hulking dude by any means, but I just don't. I don't know.
I don't get Sun Kang out of that.
Yeah, I just didn't get when I see Sun Kang. Like, granted, you could do anything that you want with these characters. The animated character, who cares? Especially if they put him in a bunch of makeup. Like, it doesn't really matter how he looks.
No.
But nevertheless, I just don't. I don't picture Sun Kang being this one. That's why I don't know why they would have to say it'd be fifth brother to say he's an Inquisitor. So, like, I could see him being an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it could be an entirely new character for all
that's
we
what
know
I'm
that's
saying.
being made for the show. So,
and I would honestly almost think that it would. Grand Inquisitor would probably work better because I could actually see Sun Kang being a Jedi. Because if you don't like, the Grand Inquisitor was a fallen Jedi.
yeah.
So like, I just also would think that probably a French dude would be better. I don't know. I always picture him as a French dude based on the character in the show.
Oui.
But nevertheless, John, what stands out to you about these this Obi-Wan news here? Do you think he's playing fifth brother? Do you think he's even going to be an Inquisitor at all? Or would you like to see that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know Rebels, so I don't know what the fifth brother, what their role is or what they do, beyond what you just said. So, I mean, that makes sense that Vader would send him. I I did kind of wonder, like when you were talking about him being Obi-Wan being drawn off planet to um by somebody else from Tatooine so that he could then eventually encounter Vader and have their duel. I also thought it could be, it could be a circumstance where, Vader obviously throughout everything that happened had a part of him that was still, even when he was Vader, it was that part that Luke drew on that was still good, that still was on the light side. Even as dark as he went, there was still that small glimpse of hope in him that Luke saw. And I don't know if it would be something where maybe this guy finds Obi-Wan, comes to Tatooine, and Obi-Wan dispatches of this guy, but Vader then knows where Obi-Wan is, and maybe because of the chain of command, the information never makes it back to the Emperor. So Obi-Wan or Vader goes to confront him, and they have a face-off, and maybe Vader gets the upper hand, and just because of their time together, or because of their history together, Vader, when he has a chance to take him out, decide there's that small little glimmer of light side that's still in that won't let him actually kill Obi-Wan, and leaves him there to just spend out his days as a hermit on Tatooine, with Obi-Wan never revealing the why he was hiding out there in the first place. So that still preserves a lot of the original trilogy story without having to bring him off planet. I think you're probably right. I think that ultimately they probably will bring him off planet, especially with Leia's involvement, if that's true. I just thought that there is a way to keep him still on Tatooine and have them interact with Vader still not going after him later on. Like he decides, like, hey, look, I'm leaving him alone, because of our shared history, because of my one-time respect for him as a mentor, or as a or I don't know, as a colleague, I guess, but whatever. I'm gonna let him live out his days here. He's not gonna be trouble to us. So
You think Vader would do that after the last words that he says to him? The classic "I hate you." We watched it. I don't know if you were here when I pulled up the last battle of Revenge of the Sith while I was testing the projector screen, and he very adamantly says, "I hate you," and he gets pretty fucked up by Obi-Wan.
But Vader, to me, maybe I'm wrong. Vader, when he's making his transition from Anakin to Vader, he's very loose cannon. After he is put inside that suit, he becomes much more stoic and much more reserved. You don't see him. He doesn't have a Kylo Ren freak out, destroy a room, get pissed, and force crush everything in his path.
That
later on,
seen.
everything. Well, that's true, but everything we've seen in the original trilogy, he is very distant and cold and calculated. And even the times where he does kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, lose his temper, like when the officer is kind of back talking to him is it Empire? I don't think it was Empire. I think it was the original Star Wars when the guy calls,
when he chokes his coworker,
ancient myths. Yeah, when he says ancient myths and whatever, or Hopi religions.
The first one, yeah.
That was New Hope. When he force chokes him, even that wasn't like done in like this just fit of rage. Like he very methodically was like, okay, I'll show you what I can do. And so I think maybe he's much more calculating, and maybe I don't know. It was just something that occurred to me when you were talking about like how can they have a confrontation when we know that Vader doesn't go after him on Tatooine. Like if Vader knows he's there, he would go after him, you would think, but maybe he doesn't because he does know he's there. I don't know.
Yeah. I would think more so than anything the Emperor would force him to. Because if the Emperor finds out about it, he's not going to have a choice.
Well, and that's why I was talking about chain of command. Like maybe the information gets to Vader and Vader never relays it to Palpatine. So Vader compartmentalizes that and is like, okay. Well, or just tells Palpatine, yeah, we found him and took care of him or something. I don't know. Because this Palpatine never references Obi-Wan in the original trilogy, right?
No.
There's no discussion about them having fought or him. Yeah, so
no. They don't even have a scene with Vader as telling him that he was there and like died on the ship.
Right.
Yeah,
like that happens, and you never even see Vader tell anybody about it. He just steps on the robe and walks away,
confused.
Hey, Vader never references him again, does he? I don't think does. He reference him to Luke even in
He does
Empire?
to Luke.
He does. Yeah. He says just like
he said Obi-Wan trained you well.
Yeah. That's right. You're right.
But That's really it. The only
Yeah.
thing I totally buy what you're saying. I just think in the end, it depends on. Do we know for sure? Is this takes place within like what the 8 years at like the middle 8 years, or is it explicitly? I don't know why, but 8 years is jumping out to me. Like it's been said before about when this show takes place. Like, is it 8 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, or is there like a window between like a certain point in time, like
I
that?
don't know that there's like a specific window.
Because there's like
Yeah.
30 years in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So I know there's like I feel like they said like in 8 years something. There's like an 8 year window that they're
I thought it was
looking here.
16 years or something.
16 years. Oh yeah, it would have been 16 years because of Luke.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. So there would have been maybe there was something that has to do with rebels in that. I don't know. It would just depend on as far as Vader. My point with this whole thing is that with Vader being the more cold, calculated, and more stoic presence, I think would be a direct correlation to how soon after Revenge of the Sith is.
Yeah.
Because if this was
Yeah.
like the next day, I could very well see him still being kind of peevish, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
being more like young Anakin. But if this was like 5 years later and he's, been spending 5 years being tortured and molded by the Emperor, then yeah, he's probably going to be a lot more reserved,
Yeah.
like, because he does, they do insinuate that as soon as like, if you've watched Rebels, he was at that point in time, he was already like acting like the Vader we know from
Yeah.
A New Hope.
And like
So-
that Ezra Vader Ahsoka duel, like he's
Mhm.
just still very calculated and
Yeah, because Vader's in the first season of Rebels like quite a bit. He's in there for
And-
like 6 episodes.
And Anakin and Vader are all about power and like having control and power and stuff. So maybe I could also see him justify it as like killing Obi-Wan into suffering like right now, being an outcast, having no power, having the ability to do nothing about the Empire. It might be a fate worse than death.
That's what I was gonna say.
In Vader's eyes.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
just like he's living alone on the planet I hate so much. Like, just like why kill him at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it both ways because we obviously know that like Anakin more so than Vader blames Obi-Wan not just for him and like how him having to become Vader by losing all his limbs and stuff, but because his mind was so corrupted and confused, he blames Vader for the death of Padme. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so I could totally see, or he blames Obi-Wan. I don't know what I said, but Vader blames Obi-Wan for like the death of Padme and like everything. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I
He's
could
not a
definitely
fan of
see him
Obi-Wan.
wanting to just like explicitly murder him, but then I could
Yeah.
also see him like, since there is that good in him that you mentioned that Luke saw in him, that like, maybe perhaps he does find out about it and just says, you know what, whatever. I'm just gonna. If the Emperor
I think
finds
that's-
you, then I'll be back.
Yeah,
That
right.
kind of thing. But
I think it's a very outside chance that's what happens. I think it's more likely because it would one of the things about Star Wars just in general is all the different locales and places that you go to throughout, the movies and the shows and stuff. And so it would be odd for them to film a series solely set on Tatooine. So I think it's more likely that your scenario plays out where he gets drawn off of Tatooine for whatever reason. But I was trying to come up with how Vader could know where he was and still let him just be there. So
Yeah.
which makes sense.
It
Like,
does.
the fact that I could also see him just wanting to go off world because like the barren desert gets kind of boring for people,
Yeah.
especially in Star Wars when we've seen it so many times. Like,
yeah,
and like, sure, they'll probably have a scene where Obi-Wan goes into the same bar, just like they did in Mandalorian. Like, we'll
Right.
probably
It goes
see one
into
of
the
those.
cantina.
Yeah, because that is on the way to the spaceport. So if he does go off world, he will probably have that scene where he goes in there. Maybe
You're gonna get a
Alden
Mos
Ehrenreich's
Eisley
over there in the
cameo.
corner or something. That'd be really cool if they had like an Alden Ehrenreich cameo or something. So, of all the shows, I was surprised they didn't announce for a Star Wars series was another Solo something.
Yeah.
Like,
It would be cool just to have him, even if he just glances at the camera and he's just sitting in the background.
Yeah, like just something like maybe
Like
he's,
Obi-Wan walks
talking to
past him and they
Greedo.
make eye contact. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
but like in a friendly way this time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
something.
Just kind of
Do
like
you,
nod
do
their
you think?
heads.
Something
Just kind of
Do
like
you,
nod
do
their
you think?
heads.
Do you think he'll run across Cassian?
possible.
That's possible, yeah.
Bec because they've got the Andor show coming out, so I kinda wondered if he might it's gotta be right around the same time frame, right?
Somewhat, yeah, I
It
would think so.
I don't know because I don't know. We know Cassian obviously died in Rogue One, which was A New Hope.
Sure.
So it would be a younger Cassian.
Slightly. Couple years,
Well,
like
we still don't know how it could
Early
be
this
8 years, if Luke's 8, I think that's where I was getting 8 from because I think the character the actor we know or who was rumored to be cast as Luke was around 8 years old or something. I don't know. I don't know why I'm thinking 8, but I'm assuming this is taking place 8 years after Revenge of the Sith. That means Cassian would be, 8 years before A New Hope at that point because Luke was 16 in A New
yeah.
Hope.
how's this actress that they were saying is Leia? Do you have any
She's
idea?
like 8 to 10 years old from what I could see.
Is she?
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
would that
So
goes
that
in
would then
line
make
with
sense.
the
Yeah.
Luke thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's her name? I can try to pull it up real quick.
Vivian Lyra Blair.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see, and then we can get at least some clarification. He looks really young. He's very young.
She's like a little kid.
Yeah, like he looks really young. I don't know. Where's her age? Let's just say her age.
Just Google it, yeah.
Age.
8 years old.
Yeah, so she's 8. So yeah, so if she's gonna be in it, she'll be between we could say 8 and 10 then for sure. And her zodiac
you're
sign is a Gemini for any
She's a
weirdos out
Gemini,
there.
yeah.
so you're looking at a decade after so Cassian's probably he's gonna be too young. He would be too young at this point. Because
He
Cassian
does
was
say
what?
that he was born
In his
into rebellion though.
Been in this fight since he was 6
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah, he does say that in Rogue One. So he was early, his parents were rebels. He was born into it, and so he's always been a rebel.
Rebel
So it
born and
definitely is
raised.
possible. I don't know if they're. It really depends on what Lucasfilm wants to do with the series. Like, do they want to connect it, or do they want to have it be its own thing?
Yeah.
Because I don't
Yeah.
think it would hurt it to because it'd just be kind of like a tease. Because I think Andor is probably the next Star Wars show we're going to see.
That's
Yeah,
what I
They've been
was
working on
Andor's
that
being
for a
filmed
while.
right now.
Yeah, they've been working on that for a long time. So,
Do you
well, they
think
were
Obi-Wan
filming Boba, but I don't know.
do you think Obi-Wan's gonna be do you think it's all gonna be contained within like a few months time or a year span of time, or do you think they'll span I guess if they got the kids in it though, that I mean that kind of locks them into one kind of set time frame. I was just wondering if because
They could
I
always
don't
recast
anticipate
them
them. I
if they
don't
wanted to do
anticipate doing a
something
season
else.
2. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
don't think they would do a season 2, but
I
like
wouldn't
all
think so.
things, we know money talks, and
Yeah.
if it's we
Sure.
already know Ewan McGregor's a beloved. His Obi-Wan's a beloved character.
If not one of the most.
Yeah, like everybody hates the prequels. I don't hate the prequels, but
I don't hate the
they have a
prequels.
bad reputation. But everybody, I would say, unanimously loves Ewan's.
The
Obi-Wan.
reputation's getting better. People are starting to understand it more and accept it more.
Well, when you compare it to the sequel trilogy, they missed the prequels. Like so, all it takes is something worse to take its place, and then it's like, oh yeah, they weren't too bad, were they? No.
Right.
For me though, with the prequels, so I don't want to get into a prequels versus sequels, sequel hating thing, but like I grew up with the prequels, so I have a much easier attachment to them than most people would. So
Yeah.
I recognize that they're not very good movies as in a whole, but there's good stuff, and they feel like Star Wars. That's the most important thing. Like some things don't feel like Star Wars; they feel like Star Wars.
They do feel like
even
Star
if they're
Wars.
bad, they still feel like Star Wars. I sat through the first 2 seasons of the Clone Wars, dude. Like I can sit through anything. I
Right.
sat through the sequels, man. It is what it is. But yeah, I don't know if they'll do a second one. I don't anticipate them being like a season 2 of Kenobi.
No. I
But
think
if
it'd be a
it's
one
really
and done
good,
sometime.
yeah, I mean, if it's, I guess we'll get a good idea if when Obi-Wan comes out, if once the Emmys come around, if it's nominated for limited series, then we'll know.
Right.
There's not they won't have a sequel at that point. If they do, they would. I don't know what the rules are for that, like going forward, and like because like you have to explicitly be a limited series and like nominate the thing
Somebody
for
did
a
that.
limited series, and then I don't think you would be like I don't know.
Somebody did that. Somebody was nominated for a limited series, and then they decided to make more of it. I think it might have been what's the show about the women and the one guy beats on her wife, got Nicole Kidman and
Oh yeah, Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies. I think Big Little Lies was nominated under a limited series Emmy because the first season covers the book, the
Hmm.
entire first book, and then HBO did so well. I think HBO back for a second or maybe even a third season, and there was a lot of controversy because it had been in the limited series and it ended up having a second season, which would make it an ongoing.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
so I don't know if there's actual repercussions for that. I guess the repercussions for that would be they would no longer nominate it for any Emmys.
Right.
sure,
Like,
Like,
you're
so it's
just
like
out
remove
of it,
from the
so
yeah.
yeah,
list.
like you're not you can't be under consideration at that point, would be my
Mhm.
guess. So I guess so that's not like a sure way of knowing what they're gonna do, but that's like the first indication that we'll have it, unless they pull a Marvel and say like at the end, like Obi-Wan will return in season 2, like,
Right, right.
or Obi-Wan will return in Ahsoka
It
or
is
something.
Disney.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm excited for it anyway. Either
Yeah.
way, though, it'd be cool to see Inquisitors. That all makes sense. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do since they are obviously doing some sort of retconning with Vader having that fight with him. I'm excited for it. So we'll
Yeah.
just have to wait and see. Question is, those guys. The question is though, guys. I don't know what the hell I just said. The question is though, guys. What do you think about this? Do you think that are you happy that Sun King is going to be in it? Are you happy that Leia's going to be in it in some capacity, supposedly? And do you think he's going to be an Inquisitor or the fifth brother in particular? Whatever you think, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our next main topic here today is the Suicide Squad. There have been early screenings of it and everything, and all the reactions to it are surprisingly. Actually, I wouldn't even say surprisingly because I think everybody, at least myself, has expected this to be a fairly good film because, James Gunn's attached to it. So I've been excited to see the movie. I know John and Rick have been excited to see the movie, but now we have our first actual. There was not full reviews out yet by any means, but there have been the social media reactions to some early screenings of the Suicide Squad or Suicide Squad 2 or James Gunn's Suicide Squad, whatever you want to call it. They're just calling it Suicide Squad, though, so we can go with that. But nevertheless, the movie comes out August 6th, so we'll have to wait and see what we really think about it. But we're going to go through some of these early reactions and just you'll see that there is a very consistent appreciation for the film. So we got Vanessa Armstrong, who I'm not familiar with. They said a hilariously violent and heartfelt story that's surprising in all the right ways, enjoyable for everyone, hardcore DC Comics fans and newbies alike. Go see this movie. Suicide Squad is an epic all-out war movie that demands to be seen on the big screen. Gunn does Jesus, I can't read right now. Gunn does it again with a hilarious cast of oddballs and underused comic characters, big laughs, bigger action. DC has another winner on its hand. Finally, Jesus, that's Dorian Parks and Rec. He worked at Collider for a while. I remember Dorian. And then we got Jimmy to the O. Just checked out Suicide Squad and calls it weird and wonderful. There are laughs aplenty and some of the most outrageous and original visuals you're likely to see in the cinema this year. This is the Suicide Squad we've been waiting for. Bravo.
It's only taken how many tries now?
Well, to be fair, this is only the second try on Suicide Squad.
True.
I'll give him that credit. And it's James Gunn's first try. So we'll
Yeah.
go with that too. But then we got Collider Frosty. Speaking of Collider, we got Steven Weintraub here. Says, absolutely love the Suicide Squad. The movie is super violent, extremely funny, and a huge home run for James Gunn and DC. Tons of surprises and things I wasn't expecting. Just a great movie. And we'll wrap this one up here and then just skim through here. And then we got Chris Gates here who says, the Suicide Squad is complete mayhem, similar themes and heart to Guardians, but tonally much more similar to Gunn's pre-Marvel work. It's real bloody. Hilarious, but be warned, the emotional stakes are real. It's not the carefree romp the trailers promise. So that's interesting. I think if you go on and read more of these, the most common thread that I think I saw was it's apparently a very, very violent movie. but also very fun. And then obviously there's some heart to it, like the gentleman down there just said before. Was I forget who it was all of a sudden, but it was Chris Gates who said that. But nevertheless, John, you hear this information. You're hearing all these early reactions. You know, are you happy? I'm sure you're happy to hear it, but like, is this what you expected to hear, or did you expect there to be some negative comments? Because I went through a bunch of these, and I never found one negative anything. It was all very, very, very positive. So, what are your thoughts on this? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. This is what I hoped to hear from the early reviews, the early feedback from this movie. There was a part of me that wanted to expect this, but it's DC, it's Warner Brothers. Their track record isn't great. Their track record with directors isn't great too. So as much as James Gunn was towing the company line and saying, "Oh no, they let me make the movie I wanted. They this, that, and the other thing," we also heard that from oh, Zack Snyder picked, Joss Whedon to come in after him and take over filming on Justice League. Oh, I forget who's the director on David Ayer, was about promoting his version of Suicide Squad. And then you find out later on that these guys, things weren't quite as all rainbows and roses as it appeared. So I'm super happy to hear all this. You saw what James Gunn did. Everybody knows what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy. If you've seen his earlier work, you know how funny and, heartfelt it can be and stuff. And so, and I guess the biggest thing I can say about all this is I actually bought tickets to go see Suicide Squad on Friday evening. The movie comes out Thursday. There were tickets available for a Thursday showing at IMAX. But I chose to get tickets for Friday evening just because schedule-wise, it all worked out better, and I didn't want to really try and finagle it and go through all the hassle of rearranging stuff to go see it and go see the initial showing on Thursday. I got thinking about it, and I thought, well, I'll buy the ticket. I'll buy the ticket for Thursday's show, and I'll just hang on to it. I can always, turn it back in if I change my mind or I don't, if it really won't work out, if it's going to be that much of a hassle, I can just turn the ticket back in. I'm not turning that ticket back in now. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the first showing I can see it because I'm that much more excited about it now. So I'll probably go see. I won't probably. I know I'll go see it again Friday. But I'm gonna go ahead and see that opening show as well.
I feel that, dude. I'm very excited for it. Rick, does this make you want to go see it opening day, or were you already going to see it? What do you think about all this?
It sounds cool. Like, I mean, it's good to hear good reviews coming out of it. And it does seem like it's going to be a very bloody, violent movie, which I think is a good thing. I hate to say it, violence sells. So people love that kind of stuff. They love blood and gore and, all that sort of stuff. But it sounds like it's going to be funny too. And from like that, what was it, Chris Gates or whatever he said? Like there's emotional stakes in it. So, I mean, I think that's a good combination for what it sounds like to be a good movie. So.
I'm with you, dude. I honestly have to say the emphasis that he said on the emotional stakes is kind of unexpected. But if you're familiar with Guardians of the Galaxy, it
It's a pretty
tugs on your
emotional
heartstrings
movie.
a little bit there, especially there on the end. Groot
Come on,
sacrificing
Groot.
himself. That's
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, but that was kind of the only one. I mean, I wouldn't say anything else was very emotional during that movie by any means, but it
No.
was very heartfelt. I guess at the end too, when they all
Well,
held hands on the
It's
Infinity
like, I ain't
Stone.
your dad, I
the
ain't your
opening,
father, but I'm your daddy.
Mary
Was that in
Poppins,
that one?
y'all.
That was Guardians 2, though. I was
Oh, I
comparing
know, I know.
Guardians
I'm
1.
just
Oh,
saying.
yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Guardians 1, the very opening scene with him losing his mom. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a
That's
gut
fair.
punch right there. That's a hard scene to watch. I mean, it flips really quickly and starts with the fun, like him dancing around on the planet very next
Mhm.
scene. But that
Yeah.
opening scene is pretty rough to sit through.
That's true. That's the thing too, I guess a better way of phrasing it is when you think of Guardians and when you think of Suicide Squad, you don't inherently think of there being any sort of, like, strong emotional beats to it, you
No.
know? Like, most
Mhm.
you don't really expect that out of any comic book movie, really. This is not something that, like, first comes to mind. So it is nice to hear that, though, because what really, at least to me, that emphasizes a more character stuff as opposed to, like, the first Suicide Squad, like, for comparison, you don't really care about any of those characters all that much.
Yeah.
They all just kinda get thrown in there, and they get music video montage intros, and like you don't really get connected to anybody in the movie. Like they stick with Deadshot for you to get like connected to, but I wouldn't say they really do like a great job of doing that. Like, because I didn't really, when I think of Suicide Squad, I don't think about caring about
You
any of
think
the
about the
characters.
opposite. You think about not caring.
Yeah, I mean, in
They're
reality, like just
they're trying to be like throwaway characters. Like,
yeah, it just wasn't all. That movie wasn't all that good, so it might be an unfair comparison, but nevertheless, I'm excited for it. I'm
Yeah.
glad, and you got to take a little grain of salt with it. These early reviews always tend to be mostly good information.
Yeah, they're not going to share. I feel like a lot of bad reviews.
Some people some people just like to shit on stuff, but I remember going back to Wonder Woman 84, for instance. We went over the early reactions for that, and it was all like love and praise. But then the movie comes out,
As it should have been.
Yeah. But despite what I thought about the movie, it was a very mixed reviewed movie. Like it was not all like all the early reviews or social media reactions were all positive. But then it comes out and it was like for every one person that liked it, there was an equal person out there who hated it or didn't like it. We'll say I don't know about hate it because I didn't hate the movie. I just didn't really care for it. There were inconsistencies with it. I liked some of the stuff, but then there was more stuff in there that like I was just like I don't know if this is working. Like I don't know if it's working. But hopefully that's not the case with this. I have faith in Patty Jenkins, so I mean that kind of surprised me too anyway, but I have faith in James Gunn, and this style of movie really fits James Gunn. Because that's another thing you have to think of is when James Gunn had the whole, got briefly fired from Marvel, every studio came knocking on his door like, you come make whatever you want for us.
Right.
And then Warner Brothers got him to come on, and he could pick any DC movie he wanted. We literally learned that like they offered him Superman. And come to find out, he specifically chose Suicide Squad. It wasn't something that they pushed on him or anything. He wanted to do this movie. And then couple that with James himself has come out and said that this is the most fun he's ever had making a movie. It's the biggest movie he's ever made, et cetera, et cetera. So he's talking highly of it. John Cena's Peacemaker is getting his own spin-off. So I mean, like obviously at least that character is good. If this is all but nothing but good things. Nothing but good things pointing to this being a good movie. So I'm excited about that regardless. Did you see, by the way, when I pulled this up, did you see these figures? I never saw these. These are the McFarlane ones.
Polka Dot Man's even got his own figure.
That looks cool. Those will be good. I can't believe Polka Dot Man. That's crazy.
I know, right?
I wonder if you're gonna be able to buy that base with it. Like, do you think that'll come as a set, or do you think that'll be released individually? Because the base and stuff would be cool to have with it too.
Well, I follow McFarlane Toys, and they always like load up like new figures and stuff. And yeah, it looks like they're all going to be like individual.
Yeah,
I think.
I wonder if like the base with the dead bodies here will be the Build-A-Figure.
Well, like they have a version of like is it Bloodsport where like helmet, no helmet. They got a Peacemaker figure that's helmet, no helmet. Like they've got different versions of them. I know.
Yeah, and I know Harley's in a couple outfits, so
that's what I was going to say. Do you think Harley has?
Probably.
Harley has a different one.
Yeah, because she's in one that's like that we see in the trailer. That's more like the Arkham outfit.
Yeah,
a little bit more like that one. That would be a good hot toy, really. I mean, I guess you don't even need that hot toy. You could just buy the Arkham Harley Quinn and then pop the Margot Robbie head on it, and so there you go. You got it. You got the Margot Robbie Harley Quinn video game outfit. But yeah, I'm excited for it. You guys got anything else you want to add? I can't wait to see this movie.
I was just gonna say if anybody's worried or if anybody just knows James Gunn from the Guardians movies, like I would strongly recommend you go watch Super, because all these reviews talk about how violent this movie is and how it's like a return to form for him. So like if you want to see a movie that's like I think going to be a lot more tonally similar, especially in terms of the violence, I would recommend you go watch his movie Super. First of all, Super is just a great movie. It's a really good movie, and it's Rainn Wilson. It's hilarious and it's fun, and it's got emotional stakes too. But it's also super, super violent.
It's very violent.
Like I think that will anybody that just knows him from Guardians, I don't think knows quite what they're in for as far as the violence level goes. That he can unhinge if given the opportunity. So
That and Slither.
Slither, yes.
See, I never
I've never
actually
seen either of
finished
those.
I've only seen bits and pieces of Slither, but I know a lot of people speak pretty highly of Slither, but it was one of those movies that, like, not a lot of people have seen, and it was
Yeah.
James Gunn, so
Yeah.
and then Nathan Fillion's in that as well, I believe, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. So, and he's obviously showing up in this. He's obviously gonna be one of them that dies, though, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. I don't think James Gunn would pass up killing off Nathan Fillion. Since they're, like, good friends, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
he's
Like,
probably
if I
probably
was
the worst
directing a
way.
movie,
Yeah.
I'd kill your character.
I think the worst way is reserved for Michael Rooker, because on all the, like, if you remember, like, at Fandom, he kept giving Michael Rooker so much shit. Like, I bet he goes out in
He
a
just
pretty
murders
good way.
him, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. The question is, though, guys, what do you think about this? Are you excited for the Suicide Squad in general? Are you happy that, all these early reviews are just, very, very positive? I didn't see one negative one. I'm sure there's one out there, but nevertheless, we'll just have to wait and see. But let us know what you think down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our next topic here is going to keep us in the DC universe here with some news that I'm actually happy to report, because if you followed the show for a long time, one thing that I've always said is in regards to the Black Adam movie and the Flash movie, which are actually we're going to talk about here just right after this. But this one is about Black Adam, because Rock came out and confirmed that they are 100% done with production on the Black Adam movie. And this movie, like I said, if you've been following for a while now, I said I wouldn't believe this until I see it. And technically speaking, I still haven't seen anything from the movie technically. So I don't really know if this is actually done yet. The Rock's just saying it's done. But man, this movie was announced like 10 years ago, it seems like. And they finally got it done. So I'm happy that it's done. But now I just need a trailer before I 100% believe it. You never know what can happen up until now and then. What if some of the everything's shot digitally anymore. But what if they lose the files, man? So like for a while, like no one likes to say that like or a lot of people say that, like X movie was cursed. This movie felt like that for a while. It's like it was announced. They tried to get it filmed. Something comes up. Blah blah blah. They were gonna start filming it right around when the pandemic hit. That affected it. They couldn't get it. They couldn't start production. But supposedly now it's all done. So I'm excited to see. I'm excited to potentially actually be able to see this movie, because I've been excited for it ever since it was announced. I mean, The Rock is a perfect fit for Black Adam. I love The Rock. So I'm excited to see that. He does come out and say that, like, there's this little quote here for his announcement. It said, "I knew many years ago the opportunity for me to make Black Adam would be a once-in-a-lifetime career event." He wrote on Instagram, "It has been my true honor to go shoulder to shoulder with over 1,000 brilliant and hungry crew of filmmakers and storytellers to bring the anti-hero known as Black Adam to life." And then what I found, which kind of interesting here, is he says, this has been one for the ages and easily the hardest labor and toughest grind mentally and physically of my entire career. Worth every second." But I find that last bit kind of interesting, because like if you're familiar with The Rock at all, he's like literally, they refer to him as like the hardest working man in Hollywood. Because he's constantly working. Like, he's constantly working. He wakes up at like 4 o'clock in the morning every day to do these workouts. He's consistently in shape. He doesn't have an off season as far as his physical fitness. And if you're into fitness at all and have tried, like, it's damn near impossible to maintain that kind of physique. Let me put it that way. It's interesting that he is saying, was the hardest labor and toughest mental grind for him in his entire career. Because that's a statement coming from him, in my opinion, anyway. But nevertheless, we did also get teased with this one little shot of Black Adam in costume here from behind. And I like the look of this suit. I think this looks really good. That's just me. But then I was already excited to see this movie. But then come Fandom last year, with the announcement of the JSA, but most importantly, the announcement of Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate's like one of my favorite characters in the DC world. And then we find out that Pierce Brosnan himself is going to be playing Dr. Fate. So, like, that all has me very excited. I'm very excited to see this. But now I'm still, got some reservations until I see some footage, just because of the history this movie has had. But Rick, you hear this stuff, you excited to see Black Adam? Can you believe that it's done? Where's your headspace at with this?
Well, for one, look at that back and those triceps in that picture. Jesus Christ, and those delts. Like, and the weird thing is, like, that's all real. Like,
Oh yeah, they came
yeah.
out a while ago and it's like it made a point that I think it was his agent or something that said like his suit will not be padded.
No, he doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Dude is ridiculously shredded and just bulky as hell. But no, I think it'll be cool. I mean, it's been talked about for so long that it's like finally gaining some traction and sounds like it'll be good. I mean, from what The Rock's saying, but I mean, I'm sure he says that about like every movie he's in. But I think it'll be cool.
The
Either
Rock
way, it'll be
says.
cool to see. Yeah, The Rock says, know your role. Uh, I think it'll be cool just to finally see it all come
Yeah.
to fruition.
I'm stoked to see something from this movie, man. Like
Right.
something. I want to see some of this in action and get a feel for the overall just like aesthetic for
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. Is it gonna be like a dark movie? I think it will be, but
Well, it's given the time frame for it too, like with the JSA involved, but then we also know that like it's gonna be going back in time here, like seeing his like origins, but then it's gonna obviously fast forward to the time of the JSA. So I'm curious to like you're gonna see the fall of what is the name of his place? Feel like it's something Amatet or something. I forget what it's called. But when he gets his powers there, that in this picture, for instance, they're going to see the fall of this empire and everything. But presumably, he probably destroys. Would be my guess. But nevertheless, we'll have to wait and see. John, what are your thoughts on this? You excited this is finally done? Do you believe this is actually done?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's done. Like you said, we need that trailer. We need the trailer to really kind of. I just, it's Warner Brothers. I'm done having any faith or trust in them until I actually see the movies on the screen because they've messed up so many things over. So I mean, somebody pointed out the other day, in it's 2001 right now. Even if they went into production right now on a new Superman movie, it would be a decade in between Superman movies. Superman, during the golden age of comic book movies, when every character is getting a movie, when every character is getting a good movie for the most part, DC Comics has let Superman sit on the shelf for over a decade. Now, I guess a solo Superman. I guess you had Batman versus Superman, you had Justice League, but still, it's DC does so poorly with their characters that um I'm always just afraid that something else is going to happen. This change to Discovery owning them, something is going to go wrong, and they're going to shelve this movie for some reason. I can't imagine that's actually going to happen, but I'm just trying to think of the most out there thing, so I'm not shocked when something does happen. All that being said, I'm super excited for the movie. Everything we found out at fandom, everything that they've said about it being done. I when you sent me the pic about the screenshot from his back earlier this week, and my first reaction was, okay. I mean, as far as first looks at costumes or reveals go, it was pretty bland. I really kind of felt like that was just The Rock, continuing to hype it up. But just looking at it again now, because my initial reaction was, okay, it looks like a paparazzi photo, except the paparazzi was allowed to come and take the picture themselves, like
Right.
where they wanted, like from the back. There's not a whole lot of information in that picture. There's not a lot of stuff going on. The suit, for all intents and purposes, is just a black suit behind him. It's got some cracking and stuff, but I don't know what that is. I don't know what the purpose of it is. But I got thinking about it a little more. Black Adam and Shazam, their powers are tied. They get their powers from the same source. And looking at it, the suit is quite a bit different than anything we've seen Shazam in. So it's going to be interesting to see what's the what prompts that. Why is his suit significantly different from the one that Shazam wears and makeup and whatnot and stuff. So I think that's an interesting little tidbit that's in this that I hadn't realized before.
My guess with that would just be the time. You know what I mean? Because this is like this is older, much older. So
Yeah.
maybe that's influencing the design of the suit. Like maybe if when we see Black Adam inevitably come face to face with Shazam in the modern age, maybe it'll look more like Shazam's more recent suit. Maybe not though.
I like
Like,
what you said though about maybe the time, but also maybe the wearer influences it. Maybe the wearer decides what kind of outfit they're constructing for themselves, and
yeah, because like with this picture, it's hard to see, but it gives me like Man of Steel like suit vibes, like
Kind of looks like
Superman.
Zod's suit.
Yeah, like it's just got this like weaving in it. It's like that's obviously deliberate, you know. Like it's hard to like
Mhm.
really make any of it out, but it almost looks like scripture in some
Yeah, it's like
places. Like
patterns
yeah,
and
like so it
I
definitely gives me vibes of the Superman suit.
I had never even noticed how he must be up pretty high. That must be a pretty
yeah, look at
wide
those little
shot
guys
looking
next
because
to
those
him.
yeah, those
Yeah.
people are so much small. Like I hadn't even seen them before in the wider shot. That's actually a really
Either
cool
The
shot
Rock's really big
when
or
you
those
get some
guys are really small.
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is he's just so big. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
He is
He's
The
just
Rock.
massive. Yeah, but I imagine
Huh.
that's like a throne kind of area, you
Yeah.
know. And this is all
Yeah.
like I don't know. My guess is that like he destroys the place, man. Is my guess. And
Gets
that's
pissed
like
off
Yeah.
and
yeah, he gets all mad and like just
ah!
burns it all down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for it, man. I can't wait to see something from this movie. You think we're getting something for this movie at Fandom?
Oh, for sure. If the trailer for this doesn't drop, like I always wonder if they need since filming is actually completed. I was kind of now I'm gonna get people's hopes up too high, but I was kind of hoping we may see a trailer for this with Suicide Squad or a tease.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of like
I mean,
sizzler
I mean
reel or something.
it's the next thing coming, right? From DC. I don't think they have anything else that's supposed to come out before this, so
Good question. I imagine it is.
Yeah, I would think it is.
this is going to be the Suicide Squad's going to be their only chance as far as a DC property to stick a Shazam or a Black Adam trailer in front of a.
July 29th, 2022. Batman's coming out in March, right?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Batman's coming. Yes.
Forgot about that.
Okay.
I think that's it though. I don't think anything else is coming before that. So this is but Batman's supposed to be disconnected from the DCEU. But technically speaking, DCEU, I hate calling it that, but whatever. Like, so theoretically, this being connected to Shazam and the Snyderverse and everything, well, you could say this is the next thing we get. Like,
Yeah.
and when it
Yeah.
comes to that, since Batman's standalone, so we'll just have
Yeah.
to wait and see. Maybe in the end of this, Batman won't be standalone, depending on what they do with the Flash.
Right.
That's true.
Like, so we'll just have to wait and see. I'm stoked for it though. I can't wait to see what they do with. I hope in the trailer that we inevitably do get at, because I know we'll definitely get one at Fandom, especially based on what like he brought. Like The Rock himself brought all that just artwork and announced so much stuff that we had never known about the Black Adam movie, like the JSA being involved and all that
Yeah.
at the last Fandom. Now that they've wrapped production,
I think
they
there'd at least be
definitely can put a trailer together.
Oh,
Matt
yeah.
Reeves put one together for the Batman with only 25% of the movie shot.
Right.
It was a damn good trailer.
It was great.
What's your most anticipated DC movie? I mean, for next year.
Mine's the Batman.
I mean, I have to say Batman because Batman's like my favorite character, like obviously. But I'd be lying if Black Adam isn't up there just because of Doctor Fate.
True.
Like I love
Yeah.
Doctor Fate, dude. Like I just hope they do the character justice. Like I don't, no
Yeah.
pun intended. Like JSA and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I just hope because we know he's playing. He's. I think they've said that he's playing Clint, right? I think they've said he's playing it, like the OG Clint,
Oh,
whatever, right? I can't
yeah.
remember. I think they said he was playing him. So like, I hope they stay true to like, 'cause he's kind of a crazy guy. So I hope they stay true to
Mhm.
that. And then having I'm blanking on names right now, dude. Like Nobu, name's Nobu, right?
Oh,
The
yeah.
the
Naboo.
spirit, yeah, yeah. So I hope they
Yeah.
like, I hope they have some sort of juxtaposition between those two because they have good interactions, you know, when like and like the very drastic change. Like I've always like they've done a lot of different things with Doctor Fate, but like whenever like Nobu takes over, he's just like a badass. Dude. Like and I want to see
Oh,
that
yeah.
happen. And then like Clint has often been like kind of like schizo, but then also kind of like normal, and then kind of like just like scared, and just like other times like he just gets kind of stuck inside, and like Nobu doesn't even let him out. Like
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what they do with that, even though I know it's not a Dr. Fate movie. I'd like to see, like, if the JSA works, like I always say, money talks. If everyone likes the JSA afterward, I could easily see them doing a JSA movie. Like, they could just be setting that up.
Yeah.
Who knows? So we'll just have to wait and see. But the question is, though, guys, what do you think about this? Are you excited to see the Black Adam movie? And what has you? Do you think we're going to get that trailer? Do you think what's the earliest you think we're going to get a trailer? Do you think we're going to get one with Suicide Squad here in a couple of weeks? Like we said, Matt Reeves was able to put together a full trailer for Fandom last year with only 25% of his movie shot. So it is conceivable that now that they've shot this entire movie, they could have put something together already to, go in front of the Suicide Squad, even like a small teaser, like something like that. So we'll just have to wait and see. Whatever you think, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our last DC topic here is just recently here the other day. This is some Flash information. Now, this information, these details here, there were some set photo leaks, and they've been pretty much taken down, like everywhere they've been posted. So I guess this might be another place because I got them. We're going to look at them. We're going to talk about them. So hopefully, since I'm not posting them or anything, we should be okay. But worst case scenario, I got to cut this out of the video later. But we'll just have to wait and see. Nevertheless, some set photos leaked showing off like the Michael Keaton Batmobile, the Batcave. There was even one of Supergirl in like her full costume and everything. Ezra Miller's Flash is Barry Allen with a very bad haircut as well. So we'll take a look at these right here. So we got the first one of Ezra here. Now I'm honestly kind of shocked that these pictures actually somehow got out because these are clearly somebody in the room. I mean, this is from the monitoring camera.
Yeah,
like this is like literally. I don't know who.
That's like you're gonna lose your job.
Yeah, like why would you put this out, man? It's so weird.
Look at that jawline, Jesus.
Jawline.
Ezra Miller, man. Dude's got a jawline.
I was more focused on the hair. Like,
it looks like he's in the 90s or something.
Like, it's a terrible haircut, dude. Like, what is going on?
That's like
what is
early 90s, like older brother on like a TV show and Nickelodeon haircut.
True.
Like,
yeah, for sure. But you can see, though, the more interesting thing in this photo is that obviously he's in the Batcave. So that's cool.
What looks to be the Batcave.
Oh, no, it's the Batcave. It's 100% the Batcave.
It
for sure.
Could be the Batcave.
Nah, it is what it is for sure. Look. Because we got some other pictures here that'll show that it is the Batcave. And we got the Supergirl here. Now,
He got the same haircut as Ezra Miller.
That's true. That's a good catch. But this sets the record straight for all those people out there who were, for some reason, thinking that Supergirl wasn't going to have a cape. Like, here it is.
Here's a secret. She's got a cape.
Yeah, like, the cape is here. I don't know why. People thought because the first photos that leaked out had her, like, without a cape, and they were like, oh, she's not going to have a cape. It's like, no. I'm not going to fault anybody for, like, not knowing. I guess it was a fair assumption to make. But if you go back and, like, look at how they filmed, like, Man of Steel and everything, and BVS and all this stuff, they didn't wear the capes 90% of the time. They CG'd them in later because they can control them better. Like, in Man of Steel, like, every time, the cape was, like, almost never there. Like, the only time it's there is when they're doing a standing shot like that, when they're inside of, like, a building, where they don't want there to be any wind making it go a certain direction or not, because you're trying to film outside, you're contingent on whatever the hell the wind's doing, and then for action scenes, you may want it to actually do something in a particular way, so it's just easier just to not have the cape at all.
Right.
But here we go. We got this full shot of that with the cape, obviously. And as you can see, too, the ab section looks a lot better here because that was the other thing I saw a lot of people, like, complaining about, which, like, I can kind of, I get where they were coming from with this part because, like, the way she was being held up on the wires made the ab muscles look really weird.
Yeah, it wasn't the most flattering.
Yeah, it looked quite odd. And as you can see, when she's just standing there normal, it seems to look a lot more natural, so it's got that going forward as well. I like the look overall, though. I think it looks good. Very reminiscent to me of the Injustice suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that costume is amazing. The red shoulders and neck piece and fading into the cape and then the blue, it's a great design for a costume.
Yeah, I think it looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping too. Do you think this is going to be a completely new version of Supergirl, or do you think this is going to be like Henry Cavill's Kara Zor-El? because in
I
Man of Steel, they did a one-off comic that connected to it, and they showed it in the movie when he goes into the ship. There's a pod that with a dead Kryptonian in it,
open
and then there's one that was open, and the
and empty.
comic was Kara Zor-El, like, so she's out
Yeah.
there somewhere. You think they're actually gonna go back to that and say that this is her, and it's
See, her
our
suit
Because
looks
it
similar enough.
because
It
it's
is.
Warner yeah, because it's Warner Brothers, I'm sure they will just to piss me off. Oh, hey, yeah, we're still gonna keep everything related to Henry Cavill in our universe. We're gonna have, it be, and we're gonna pretend like all those movies are in canon and stuff. But guess what? We're never gonna have Henry suit up before us again because we're dummies.
We're
Mhm.
dummies.
Yeah.
It's true. I could totally see him
Sorry,
saying
that's my
that.
nice way of putting it.
Well, I see if they
But
were
yeah,
gonna have it be connected, because there's things, since presumably speaking, from the previous concept art stuff we went over before, the stuff that leaked like a week or two ago, it looked like they were doing like staying true to the Flashpoint stuff, like from the comics, because it looked like there was like the very weak and frail Superman who has never seen the sun. So if
yeah,
they're doing that, then maybe this Supergirl is like Michael Keaton's Batman, universe version. Like maybe it's the only Superman of that world is her Supergirl. Like because Clark has been held captive somewhere, so it could be completely limited to that, which obviously isn't going to be Henry Cavill at that point. Like I wouldn't imagine. Like it very well could be. They could bring Henry in and do the old Chris Evans on a little frail guy's body like they did in the first Captain America
sure,
movie.
Yeah.
But
sure.
if they do that, then we'll know for sure that this is the Supergirl of the Man of Steel universe as well. So we'll have to wait and see. That'll be interesting. Then we had this is the most. I was talking to John about this last night. This is both cool and kind of confusing and kind of stupid to me in a lot of ways. Because yeah, you gotta have this in the movie. You have to have the Batmobile in the movie, Michael Keaton's Batmobile. You have to have it. But would it really be what he's using 30 years after the
That's what I was
fact?
gonna say. That's my biggest qualm with it.
Like, I just don't understand. And then the same goes for his suit, because all the concept art we've seen has had him in the same suit.
You'd think he would have changed it.
Yeah, it's just natural.
Technology advances,
Exactly, and he's getting older. Like, it's just
I
I
think he'd
literally
have more of like an armored suit.
exactly. I made the comment to John that, like, literally Tony Stark has 85 suits before he dies. And,
Right.
like, literally somehow Michael Keaton's Batman sticking with the same car, sticking with the same suits. Like, I don't really buy that. I get it for nostalgia's sake, but I don't see like why you don't just have this sitting there in the Batcave as like a prop. And then once we go into the Batcave, everyone's like, "Oh, cool! There's the old car." And
Maybe
then
that's
Yeah.
what it is. I
do
mean,
the suit the same way, like, "Oh, there's his old suit," and even have like the one where he ripped off the cowl from Batman Returns. So it's like, there it is. We know which
yeah.
one it is. Cool,
Which
but
you pointed out that the director released that promo shot with the blood on the bat symbol from the suit, and then it was the bat symbol from the return suit, which I've always felt is not nearly. I mean, it was a poor upgrade. Like I always preferred the '89 Batman suit to the return suit because the return suit had this weird like armored ab section. Like
I know what
instead
you're
of just
talking
the
about.
rubber, it just looks clunky and weird. And I
mhm.
always wondered why they made that change. I'm going to be pretty disappointed if that's the suit they choose to throw him in for this movie.
Yeah, I'll be disappointed because I just don't buy the fact that he's wearing the same suit.
No.
Even though I agree with you where the '89 suit looks better, it's just it's honestly, like, the verisimilitude and, like, something that pulls you out of the movie, that's gonna pull me out of the movie if that happens. Like, because from the concept art, like I said, there were the shots of people in the Batmobile, and it looked like this car,
Well,
and it
to be
also looked
honest,
like he was wearing that same suit.
practicality wise, that Batmobile just isn't practical. Like it's just
Well, here's the
it's a
thing.
very Tim Burton looking.
Here's the thing. This looks like it's only a two-seater. I'd have to go back and watch the movie. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've watched the '89 and the Returns movies.
89 is a two-seater because he takes Vicky Vale to the Batcave, and there's lots of shots from inside the cockpit or the inside the car, and it's just him and her. There's no back seat in those shots. So
Then this can't be because in the concept art, there was a back seat. So it would have
yeah,
to be at least a modified version,
Yeah.
yeah.
or they're just doing a little bit of a retcon and adding a back seat because they had that shot of Barry and what looked to be Wonder Woman in the back seat. So
I know everybody loves Michael Keaton Batman, and obviously I do too, but Batman Returns is not. They should have taken this opportunity with the whole multiverse and everything to pretend like Batman Returns didn't happen and just go back to saying this is a continuation of '89 Batman.
I wouldn't hate that. I'd be fine
Yeah.
with
They could
that.
have whatever universe he went to, it wasn't the one where Keaton's
Returns
career
happened.
continued into
Yeah.
Right.
Returns. Yeah,
Yeah. I hear that. And they could also just they could do the very same with if they since they're doing the multiverse thing now, you just act like Forever and Robin didn't happen. And it's just
sure.
we're just like Terminator was or
It'll be
the new
interesting to see
aliens
if
doing.
it'll be really interesting to see if they reference those movies in any way. If they say something like, "Oh, that time we fought Mr. Freeze on ice skates" or something, I don't think they'll go
Right.
that far with it, but
A
it'll be
better
interesting to see if
way
they reference them in any way.
the suit, have, like, Frieza's suit in the back, because I made the comment to
Yeah.
you, like, because 'cause we'll get to it here for I'll just skip over to it real quick. I was talking to John when we first looked at this, like, picture of the Batcave. I told him, like, I really, like, leaned more towards, like, the aesthetic of, like, Ben Affleck's Batcave because it was just more practical. Like, it was still in a cave, but it was, like it was designed to be functional, and whereas, like, this cave is very cavey, man, like, there's literally water all over it, and, like, it is set up in a way that you could have some cool props, so, like, if you're familiar with, like, the animated series, they have, like, the giant penny and the
Right.
T-Rex and all that stuff, and he has all the, the trophies or what have you of all the, villains he's faced. So, it would be cool if they had just, like, a little area where, like,
Like a Hall of
Arnie's Mr.
Fame.
Freeze suit is over there or something, like or maybe the Mr. Freeze gun and it's the same as Arnie's. I think it's something
The
like
Riddler
that.
Kane.
Yeah, because then it's just
Sure.
like we know what it is, but you don't have
Two-Face's
to say it was
tuxedo,
the same.
maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Stuff like that. That would be cool. And that's really the only thing that I would really like about this design of a cave. Honestly, I don't really care what the cave looks like in all honesty. It's fine. I just when I think about it, like I loved the cave from like Justice League and stuff and like it was awesome. Like it's practical, dude. It just looked good.
Yeah.
Which is kind and that's the thing that you mentioned, John. It's like the Nolan films kind of neglected the cave. So
Yeah.
like I'd rather see something like this. This is a very this is a very animated series style cave, which is cool. It's just it doesn't really seem like the most practical of caves to actually have in a functional world.
Right.
But nevertheless, this is still a very cool shot. Like so, I'm excited to see what they do with it in general. And then we also have this shot, which you see Ezra Miller's character. It looks like this is the same shot, but we don't actually see the Batmobile behind him there, but it could just be the angle of, where this is because you can see him there, and his arms are out like he's holding this thing. So, that's interesting. I don't know. Well, is what it is.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. So, you guys got anything you wanna add about this? I think I've kinda said everything that I've had to say about it, like, I just wanna see what they're gonna do and, like, is this gonna be the actual car that he's driving? Because honestly, with Ezra standing right next to it, kinda makes me think that he literally was still driving this car around and, like, he just got out of the car right here in this shot, and then he's, like, in awe about what he's seeing in the Batcave. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I just hope he has an upgraded suit and an upgraded car after 30 years.
Right.
Uh,
You'd
you
think
know,
so.
like, and like you mentioned, John and Batman Beyond, as he got older. Now, granted, this is it's a cartoon, and this isn't technically Batman Beyond, as we don't know yet. Maybe they're setting that up, but as time went on, he started using a more Iron Man style suit, because he needed help
Yeah.
moving around. And then, like, even the most recent like Batman Beyond suit that he made, it was pretty much like yeah, it was very reminiscent to like the Tony Stark nanotech kind of suit and the way it functioned.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
it helped him and increased his power. It had jet boots in it, what have you. So, we'll just have to wait and see. You guys got anything you wanna add? Anything stick out?
Yeah. Right.
Right. Well, the
Looks
question.
good.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
excited.
sorry. It looks
Oh,
good.
no,
I'm
you're
still
good.
interested. I'm still eagerly awaiting it.
I'm right there with you, dude. Like, I will say, like, as much as I don't really think the car is very or the cave is very practical, I'm excited to see if they do the trophy aspect of it.
That would be
Yeah.
cool.
'Cause it's set up in a way that, like, you could totally have, like, the just to bring it up again, like, over here, like, in this little section, you could hang, like, the big penny there, you could have in just these areas where you can't really get to, you could have just, like, the T-Rex thing there, just I hope they do some cool stuff like that, 'cause,
Yeah.
It's amazing how the way they frame stuff and how digitally they can go, because looking at this shot, it looks I don't see how they're going to, because I typically think of the giant green screens behind everything in order to digitally alter the landscapes, but this they're gonna have to, like, there's just a lot of random crap back there. Like, we
Right.
were you and I were Rob and I were talking yesterday about, like, are those giant panels back there, like, are those digital video walls that they are using to help enhance it or not? But
Is it
I mean,
just
they
concrete
haven't
or?
really. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a lot of adjusting they're gonna have to do to the whole thing. But then you look at that shot with Ezra in the cave, and it looks all great. It looks like they've
Mhm.
somehow, and I don't know if that's just all the angle that they have it at or what.
Well, if you look, like, here's the Batmobile way back here, so Ezra would have been presumably standing right here, and then when you look
Okay.
at that picture, like, it's dark, and, like,
Yeah.
there's literally judging by that angle anyway, look at the wall here. Like, this it literally looks like a dam or something is built right here,
Yep.
which and
Yep.
clearly, like, that's just a blank wall. So that whole thing was like, behind Ezra.
Superimposed,
It
yeah.
exactly, it's just rendered in the shot. 'Cause, like, that's what
Yeah.
they do with, if you watch, like, the Mandalorian behind the scenes stuff, they use, like, game engines anymore, so the whole set is completely digitally already designed in the game engine, and they can superimpose it while filming through their normal camera and look on the monitor and see exactly what it looks like with effects already done. So, that's my guess as to how that, like, wall's even there. Because this shot could have been before. I mean, obviously, there's still some construction equipment here, so this could have been taken who knows
Those
how
True.
are
long
green
before.
cranes, though. I mean, like, they may be able to even just, like, digitally take those out.
That's true, yeah. 'Cause, yeah,
Alter it on the fly.
yeah, for sure. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure it'll all look great once it's all done, like, for sure. Because
Yeah.
I mean, it's honestly another thing just to add, is it's cool that they went out of their way to build this much practically.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, they didn't
versus
have to do
making it
that
all
at all.
Definitely.
CG.
Yeah, which definitely makes me think that they're gonna actually be spending a lot of time in the Batcave, because there's no way they would build this entire massive set with.
For, like, a 30-second clip
Yeah,
of,
they would just CG that at that point, so
right.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see. What if, dude, I just thought of, in that concept art where we saw the really frail Superman and everything, what if in this world, what if Bruce is the one who has captured him and held him captive the whole time? Because if you remember
Well,
when you see that concept art, they're in the Batcave when that happens. So what if our boy Bruce is the one that's been keeping him locked up there and then, like, lets him out once Barry gets there because he convinces him, like, "No, dude, he's good, like, we need him."
Yeah.
could
Like,
be.
yeah, it'd be an interesting way to go about it, so we'll just have to see. Question is, though, guys, have you seen these shots? Well, if you didn't, you have now, but what do you think about these shots here? You excited to see? Are you like me at all, and where you're kind of like, it's all cool and, like, and great for nostalgia purposes that, you see the old '89 Batman Batmobile and the bat suit and all that, but, like, yeah, in the end, to me, I just it's gonna pull me out of the movie a little bit if the entire time he's wearing the same clothes and he's using the same car from 30 years ago. Because if you're over 30 right now, I don't think you're gonna be wearing anything that you had 30 years ago. Like,
Yeah,
am
I
I
don't
right?
think I own any clothes from when I was a year old.
Yeah, think about what do you have from 10 years ago that you're still wearing or driving?
My brown belt is actually from high school. I wear it all the time, and, it's literally I think I got it like my junior year of high school.
See, I find that shocking because belts break down so easy.
This is a Levi's brown leather belt, and this thing has held up like no other.
Yeah, it would have had. I had a brown Levi's belt, and it did hold up for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean it's still going strong.
Yeah.
Get a
So,
Levi's belt.
either way, remains the same. Most people out there don't have anything that they're wearing from 10 years ago, let alone 30 years ago. When you
Well,
add on the fact that this is a suit for battle,
to
it's going to
add
take wear and tear.
to add into that too, I was going through my drawers, cleaning stuff out, and I was finding T-shirts from like high school and stuff, and I'm like, I wouldn't wear this shit nowadays. Like,
Oh yeah, that's the thing too. Just your style changes.
yeah,
That's the other thing too. It's like with that Keaton, you made the comment too. It's like the Keaton Batmobile. There is very Tim Burton style like design in
it's like
general. Like,
wacky looking.
yeah,
And,
it's like, is that gonna even fit in with the rest of this universe that they're in?
yeah.
Like, because yeah, I think when they go out in the real world in this movie, is it gonna look like Tim Burton's world? Like, because that's a very unique looking world.
Right.
So, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm hoping it'll be good, but like John always says, this is Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers has kind of let us down a while, so I'm very hesitant. So, but the question is, though, guys, what do you think about this? Let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our penultimate topic here, before we get into this little chunk of Marvel news that we have, is something kind of interesting. When the article first came out, I think a lot of people were kind of confused as to what they were actually talking about here. Because an article came out the other day that said Netflix is going to be focusing on like adding video games and like adding games to the pre-existing Netflix app. So this was not going to be a secondary like service created by Netflix that you would subscribe to for like gaming, like picture like Google Stadia or something like that. Because speaking of which, that's what most people seem to. That's what the article when they first spoke about Netflix adding the gaming section to their app. It seemed like most people envisioned it like a games as a service type of thing, like Google Stadia, so you could go in and just like stream X, Y, and Z game through the Netflix app. Because the article went on to say that like they're not gonna like charge an extra fee for this. It wasn't gonna be an add-on service. It was just gonna be they're gonna add video games and they'll be there. You just come with your monthly subscription and then you go on about your day. But another article has came out that seems to have clarified a little bit of what their intent is with it. So in the article, they go on to actually reference the Black Mirror, what do they call it? I forget what they call it. Yeah, Bandersnatch. And if you remember the like Black Mirror Bandersnatch thing, what they did, it was like an almost like a choose your own adventure style game, but like built into the movie. So it was like a choose your own adventure version of the movie. So as you were watching the movie, it would pop up and you'd have an option to choose what the main character did. So they shot the movie with the character doing these different things, and then you choose it, and then it goes that route. So you see how the movie plays out with having these choices in there. So it was built off one of those choose your own adventure style games. And this article seems to go through and kind of indicate that that's more or less what they were talking about. So they're saying they want to create new types of stories and new product experiences, and they'll be overseen by Netflix Interactive. And then the goal of games created by Netflix Interactive is to enhance and deepen member engagement. So it seems like, and then they go on to explicitly reference the Black Mirror Bandersnatch game as an example of the games in quotes that they have produced and that they're going to be producing. So it seems like they're more or less going to be adding these things, these different types of, I don't even know if you can call them games. Like some will probably be more interactive than others, but it's going to be like if you go to watch an episode of something, there will also be like some little game you can play with it, but it's going to be explicitly about the title that you're watching, as opposed to you being able to just go and play Assassin's Creed or something and just stream it like Google Stadia functions through your Netflix, subscription. So they don't really clarify too much on it. Like they just like it's kind of like loose as because I guess they probably don't know exactly what all they want to do with it, as would be my guess. But another quote here is like the opportunity before us is to expand our slate of interactive innovations and capabilities, including but not limited to new types of features like game like experiences and different ways of interacting with stories. It's time to reimagine the future of entertainment yet again. So, what do you guys think about this though? Do you think this is like a good thing for them to do? Do you think anybody would really care about this? Do you think like what this is mainly going to end up becoming is just more of the choose your own adventure style things, or do you think they're actually going to start building in like companion games? Like, John, what do you think?
I mean, my initial reaction is this is 3D all over again. I mean, what,
Hmm.
a decade ago, 3D was all the hotness. Like Avatar, oh, Avatar's the biggest movie in the world. James Cameron's going to do this immersive 3D effect, and like Avatar, how boring that movie is aside, the 3D and it was fine. It was, it is what it is. Like I've never walked into any 3D movie over the past when I was a kid, like when I was 4 and 5 and I put on the red and blue glasses and watched a 3D movie, like, yeah, I was shook, like, "Oh my god, that's coming out of the screen," but since I turned 10, I just it's a fun effect at times, but most of the time, it just seemed like an excuse to sell me a higher movie ticket price, so,
Yep.
this seems kind of like the 3D phase or the 3D hype that was everybody thought that was the future of cinema. The thing that's gonna save cinema is gonna be 3D, and now you have a 3D movie every now and then, but like it's died off. People have finally given up. Now wait till the next Avatar movie comes out, but we'll see. But anyway, I mean the idea is nice if as long as they're not increasing subscription charges. If they think that they need to do this to compete and innovate against the other streaming services because there's so many out there, that's fine. I hope this doesn't take away from them continuing to produce quality shows and films and stuff. I mean, that I would even maybe prefer that they put their money more into script development and so that their movies are even better. I mean, I don't think their movies are bad now, but we've talked about how their movies aren't like there's definitely a for the most part a quality drop between like a movie you would expect to see on a theater and then a Netflix quality movie. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it seems like Netflix, as far as their movies have always been, it's a quantity over quality as
Yeah.
far as their
Yeah.
originals go. Because like every once in a while, you get what was that Marriage Story? You'll get a Marriage
Yep.
Story, and then you'll get the Martin Scorsese one, The
The Irishman,
Irishman.
yeah.
You'll get one, you'll get two of those, but for every two of those, you get 20 random Adam Sandler movies that he probably wrote while he was drunk or something. Because
Right.
like, they're not very good, like, and not to fault Adam Sandler's still awesome, and I think he should stick to doing dramatic work because like, he was amazing in Uncut Gems. Like, I don't think people give him enough credit for his dramatic work at all, like, but his comedy stuff hasn't really been all that good in the last 10 years, and so, but, not just a shit on Adam Sandler. There's just more movies like Adam Sandler movies that go straight to Netflix. Like the David Spade's always there, and I love David Spade, but it's just like it's those style. There's 20 of those, and then
When I see
one
David
Irishman
when
movie.
I see David Spade in a movie, I'm just like, "Oh."
Yeah, David Spade's great, but like I know what you're saying because like it's like, well, David Spade's in here. How good could the movie be?
Exactly. Like, I'm not saying David Spade's not a bad guy or anything like that, but it's just like when I see him in a movie, I'm like, "Mm."
Yeah, I
It's like, "How
love
good
David
can this
Spade in
be?"
the old sitcom Just Shoot Me. I love that shit.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
talking like, what is the one where, like,
Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt and, like, that movie where, like, him and Adam Sandler and all those dudes, like, meet up, they're, like, friends from whatever.
Yeah, Grown Ups.
Grown Ups, yeah, it's just like, "Oh, great, David
Yeah,
Spade." Like,
I
it's
know.
one of those David Spade quality movies
Yeah,
is, like, what I
exactly.
think. Kinda like Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I love Adam Sandler. That's the thing. I'm not faulting him. It's just those movies that they've been making in the last 10 years. Those like pure comedy movies from like involved with like Adam.
It's just supposed to be really funny, the whole
Yeah,
movie,
and it's
like
humor I don't really appreciate. Like it, like on and on. It's like in your face. This is funny. Like you know what I mean. I'm more of a lowbrow kind of guy myself.
yeah.
Like like, but nevertheless, or more of a like lowbrow is what that is. Like it's the
You like
opposite.
a little more
Like,
like yeah,
I like dry kinda
substance,
yeah,
yeah.
like, it's not really funny kinda stuff, it's just,
That's what
like,
I'm
kinda
saying, like, to
humorous,
me, it's
like
funny when it's just, like, stupid humor, stuff that's not supposed to be funny.
yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
it's like, like ever since like the Hangover kind of like popped off.
I didn't care for that.
Hangover was very like much like kind of an in your face kind of like this stuff is supposed to be funny.
Like, this is
stuff
wild
happening.
and crazy, and
And it's all just gone kind of downhill since then. Like,
yeah,
because I mean, even with the Hangover 1 was great, and then the preceding ones were not, you know. But nevertheless, like the funny thing is in this article too is like because like I said, it doesn't seem like they even know what they're gonna say or what Netflix is trying to do. They haven't really confirmed it, and they say like the people who wrote this article said like rather than creating traditional video games, it sounds like it sounds from the listing like Netflix Interactive aims to do something interactive that leans more toward the film world than the video game world. And like I said, they don't even know what it plans to be, but they're trying to get this out within the next year, which is kind of shocking. And then, especially since they haven't really explained what the product is, but they want it out in the next year.
yeah.
It's kind
I
of
was reading
odd.
those reviews. Like, people were saying they're just like if they think that they're going to be able to do this in a year, like this.
Yeah, like the people. There was a quote from someone down like in this article. It says like, "There's no chance. They don't have a team. They're not capable of making games, and the idea that they think they're going to launch games next year is crazy. There's no chance they'll get anything made in the next year." It's just like, yeah. I mean, it seems like an odd choice because honestly, when it first came out that when this first dropped, that people were under the assumption that it was going to be more of like a games as a service, like Google Stadia.
Right.
That kind of made sense to me because they have the bandwidth there, they have the technology and the compression to provide all this streaming content as movie content to everybody in their home. Like, why couldn't they throw in some additional servers in their sites and just host games on them?
Right.
Like, that made sense. Like, but I mean, that would also be something, there'd be like licensing involved with that, with all the game studios. And then, like, I don't know how that would work. And then they would presumably have to charge more for that. Like, I don't know. So this seems more like a like I feel like this is more like John says, kind of like a gimmicky thing. Like they'll have these things there. I don't know how much like throughput they're really gonna drive to like getting new subscribers.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I gotta get Netflix because now they have this
Gaming system.
this trivia thing attached to all their movies or like some even if it's like the Bandersnatch thing, which again, like I wouldn't want to like I did the Bandersnatch thing for the Black Mirror Bandersnatch little thing they did, but I wouldn't want to watch every movie like that. It was more of like because I'd never even really watched the Black Mirror show like all that much. So like I really had no connection to it at all. I literally only watched it because of the gimmick. And that's not why I watch movies. Like, I don't wanna watch movies because of the gimmick associated with it, I just wanna watch a good movie.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll just have to see. I guess once we have some more information, there might be maybe we'll get a better idea of what they're aiming for, but until they release that information, I'm very hesitant to think this is good or bad or kinda like John said again, it's just gonna are they just gonna waste their resources on this and prevent, like shouldn't they be putting this to actually, like, making just more movies, especially with the
Better
competition
movies.
out there? Like yeah, because that's the thing, like, you have your HBO Max and your Disney Plus and, like, all these streaming services who are focusing on providing great content and they have like Netflix isn't gonna have all these IPs that they have. They don't have the IPs Disney have. They don't have like any IPs like
No,
that.
they don't have the traction that some
Yeah.
of these other
Like
streaming services have.
it's only gonna be a matter of time before like they're on top of like they're the king of streaming right now still, but as these companies, as years go on, they're gonna have more and more original stuff there with IP that consumers are already interested in.
Right.
So it's, I don't know. Seems like an uphill battle. I don't know. But question is, though, guys, what do you think about this? And do you think that inevitably speaking, this is just going to be more kind of like throwaway things attached to some of Netflix original titles? I'm sure some of them could be quite fun to do with like, if there's like a Stranger Things. I don't know what you could do with it because it can't be like too interactive like a true video game if you don't unless they're going to start shipping Netflix controllers out to people. So I don't really know what they're going with that. It seems like the only thing they possibly could do is like have some trivia type game associated with it or like the choose your own adventure thing. Would you like to see more of that stuff? Like, I don't know. It seems kind of gimmicky. I don't know if it's going to drive in new subscribers, but we'll just have to wait and see. Whatever you think, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our final topic here. Unfortunately, normally our final topics are held out for like big spoiler discussions for shows and things like that, but we've already done all that. with Loki airing on Wednesdays. That review's up on the channel already, so you can go watch the finale review of that. We did the Bad Batch review also on stream with that, so both those reviews are up though if you want to go check those out. So, but in similar fashion, at the very least, we do have a Marvel topic here that does tie into Loki in some ways, depending on how you look at it. But Kevin Feige recently did this big he had an interview right where he kind of broke down the kind of Marvel process, especially now with how it relates with the multiverse and the introduction of the multiverse into the MCU, which is the primary thing I'm going to kind of focus on in this because, like I said, it does kind of connect with Loki and where that kind of stuff is right now. So, because this is a fairly large interview with a lot of different quotes from Mr. Kevin Feige. So, I'm going to scroll down though to the main one here is when he was saying, who is he speaking with here? I only remember who he said he was speaking with. But nevertheless, if you look this Kevin Feige multiverse up, you'll be able to find the article. Maybe if I remember, I'll drop the link down in the description if you want to read the entire article. But he goes on to say during the conversation, the multiverse like topic got brought up. And he goes on to say, as you indicated before we started recording, the multiverse is coming up in a big way. There's interconnectivity there that people have already started to see and suss out. And I had a meeting this morning with the whole broad Marvel Studios team going through the multiverse and the rules of the multiverse and exactly how to really deliver on the excitement surrounding the multiverse. And then, like, because I've thought before, I'm not sure if we've really talked about too much on the show. We probably have, but one of my concerns with the multiverse stuff, I think John and I have probably discussed this at some point, is just people like the general audience. Like, are they going to know what's going on? Are they going to be interested in the show? Like, are they going to be able to follow along with X, Y, and Z, like Earth 616, and like, are they going to start? Like, how deep are they going to go? And is it going to lose some people? Because Marvel has always done a very good job with like, even though their entire 20 some odd movies and now their TV shows are all part of a big connected story. Kevin Feige has always made each movie in a way that you can jump in and just start watching wherever they're at. Like if Loki was the first thing you saw, you can watch it. It's a complete story in and of itself. You're not going to be lost. You know what I mean? Like they've done a really good job about doing that while also having everything have a connected thread to it. So yeah, if you watch it and you've seen everything else, you'll get more out of it, but you're not going to be completely lost. I know people who literally saw Infinity War and Endgame, and that was the first thing that they saw in Marvel, and they were able to pick up on it just fine. They knew where everything was at. But like with the multiverse stuff, it could honestly start getting kind of confusing for people. So that's been a kind of a worry that not just me, but a lot of people have had, like with the introduction of the multiverse. But it's like Kevin Feige would, it seems like he at least has a plan on it, because he goes on to say that, like, there are some things that, like, they will not like, there will be things that he'll want to include and, like, do as part of the overarching story. He'll only do it so long as it does not impact the individual projects. So, like, for instance, he said, like, something will come up, one show, and we'll have to sometimes call and say, well, actually, we've got to alter this, we've got to change that, but never to the detriment of the individual projects. So that's still his primary focus, which is my point here. Like, he's still going with that as the primary goal. So it kind of eases my mind with it more so than anything, because like with the multiverse stuff, like they literally have like a multiverse meeting room at Marvel now, which is like I could just see at some point kind of getting confusing, not just for other people, but for the like the general audience in general. Like not just for the general audience, but for the people working at Marvel. Like, because I mean they've gotten to the point where they have to have multiversal meetings, which it's just I don't know. It could be a slippery slope. But it goes on to actually comment about educating the broader public. And it says, because like with so much with Marvel, that this is a topic when we first had Sam Jackson appear in a cameo at the end of Iron Man, I thought it would be a relatively small group of people that were excited by that and that we'd have to educate the broader public about what that meant and who Nick Fury was. But almost instantly, if you remember way back in summer of 2008, it ignited everyone's imagination. It says, in the same way, the multiverse is something we geek out about and we really love and all storytelling potential it brings. but thought we had to dull out what it was introducing the concept even briefly in Doctor Strange, and then as a fake out in Spider-Man Far From Home. And then he goes on to wrap this up here with Kevin Feige expressed that it's more than just fans who are following the slow development of the multiverse MCU. And he says, I will tell you something, it is more than just fans that are following along with the multiverse storyline. It's really exciting to even see it midway through the Loki series now as people respond to the possibilities. But again, my point with that is like, I know there are people out there who the Loki series didn't really work for them because they were kind of confused as to what was going on. So I don't know. I'm just reading this whole thing, and there's more to it if you go through and read every single like bit of this interview. It reassures me that like he still knows that. I mean, not that I had any doubts, but just that he's still keeping a focus on the individual movie itself, as opposed to just wanting to go crazy with multiverse.
I think
You know what I
as
mean?
they should focus on the movies itself as well. I mean, that's like you said, you don't want to take people out of like what they're familiar with and stuff just to like, I feel like appease like the more hardcore comic fans and all that know the story better. They've got to make something that's like entertaining and easy to follow. And, if they go too deep into that, I think it just takes things off the beaten path too much.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing too, because we even on our show here, because you don't really follow Marvel like
Not as much, no.
that's what I'm saying. So like if you're sitting there, like if you jump in the middle of some Loki, for instance, and if Loki was the only thing you've seen, like or how much
Ever,
did
yeah.
you even follow Loki? Now I'm really
I
thinking
followed
about
it pretty well. I mean, I watched every bit of it.
Well, I guess this is a good point too, because I remember during our spoiler discussion, you didn't know that He Who Remains was Kang.
Yeah, I had no idea.
And that's the thing, like, but the show still worked for you, did it not?
Yeah. Yeah, it was still entertaining to watch. They did a good job with making it, as somebody who's not as like fluent as a Marvel fan or anything like that. I like Marvel. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against it. I'm just not like as into it as I am like Star Wars. It was still easy to follow and it was still easy to understand what was going on just as like a casual viewer.
Exactly. Which to my point, I think this article more so just reassured that even with the introduction of the multiverse, he still he still only wants to like they're only going to introduce anything like that as long as it's not a detriment to the actual show that they're working on.
Yeah, which
Which
makes sense.
well, no, it does make sense because, like I said, it's what they've been doing since day one. So I don't know why anyone would really doubt it. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it was going to like all of a sudden just start being lazy and making things confusing and etc.
Yeah.
I still have the fear though that like depending on how wacky they end up going, not so much that it would be confusing, just that it's not always very appealing to the general audience. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because as you start to get more into the multiverse stuff, you start to be really more like sci-fi, and sci-fi is really not like all that big of a thing for the general audience. Like it loses a lot of people. It
Yeah.
alienates the audience in a lot of ways just because it's just something they're not really like used to, not really into, and it's like a big deviation from what they're used to and what they've come to expect with a Marvel movie. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I hope they don't really. I don't want to see them try to go too wild, and then even though, like, I'll probably love it, like, cause that stuff is like, I'm a genre fan, like, I like sci-fi stuff. You like sci-fi stuff, even if you don't really follow Marvel that much, like, you love Star Wars,
Oh yeah.
like, you love even though Star Wars more sci-fi fantasy, it's still sci-fi, like, but
Oh
it's
yeah, it's 100%.
yeah, but it's not like, it's not like Battlestar
Or
and
like
just Star
Stargate or
yes, yeah, I mean, like, that kind of stuff, and, like,
Star
that's
Trek even.
yeah. So we'll just have to wait and see. But like my main takeaway with this is that like everyone out there who is worried about it, which I'm not gonna lie, I have my worry that it could be problematic for the general audience, the more broad public. But this was a little bit of reassurance. I mean, they literally have multiversal meetings now, which
Yeah.
is interesting.
Yeah, that is
But
interesting, but I mean, I guess it's
no, you kind of have to. Like,
necessary, yeah.
yeah. But either way, we'll just have to kind of wait and see because then this goes on to the fact that Tom Hiddleston is now set to appear in Doctor Strange. This is not technically set in stone, but the Hollywood Reporter did write an article saying that they have heard from their sources that he is going to be appearing in Doctor Strange,
Yeah.
which, given the whole ending of the show, spoiler alert out there, like it totally makes sense. You know what I mean? And like, given the fact that they've been meeting more and more about the multiverse, and now they have these multiversal meetings. The only thing I really kind of got from this too is that like I always was under the assumption before that uh the multiverse was going to be kind of over after Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
But the fact that like they're now like doing the like Kevin Feige said that they're having multiversal kind of meetings. I'm wondering if it's actually going to kind of just actually be a thing going forward. Like they're going to have the full on multiverse just exist so that they can maybe do what DC's doing and tell like standalone stories or something
Yeah.
and have it not affect the continuity of the MCU. Like we talked about last week. I think it was last week anyway, but Joaquin Phoenix was going to be Doctor Strange initially, but he didn't want to sign on for this big, multi-movie deal. But if they're doing a multiverse, they could say that, they could have had Joaquin come in and do a one-off Doctor Strange movie
Yeah.
and just say it's, a multiverse thing. It's a what if, story, or an Elseworlds thing, as DC calls it. It's like, here it is. Like Marvel has What If, and there's the What If, animated series coming out. But What If it's a comic line. Like they have a bunch of different What If stories, and it's just like the show. What if Black Panther was a Ravager? Like and they just do that. So I could see them keeping the multiverse alive in the MCU and not completely shutting it off, just so they actually have a little bit more freedom to tell stories outside of the MCU.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because honestly, I would think that if they were to go that route, which is kind of the way DC's going now, I would actually like that. Because I don't think everything needs to be tied to the damn MCU. Like, because at some point, it does kind of become a crutch.
Yeah.
Because you're limited. Like, like Black Widow, for instance. If you wanted to tell a Black Widow story, well, right now, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow died in the events of Avengers Endgame. So you can't tell a Black Widow story unless it's set in the past.
Right.
So, it complicates things. But if you're able to tell an Elseworld story, of what if, then you could do that.
Right.
To say it's a multiversal version of her, and she's, if she's like working with the Avengers, you can have an entirely different cast of Avengers in there. You can have an entirely different Nick Fury in there. You can do whatever you wanted to do because it's a what if story.
Right. Right.
So I think that would actually be kind of cool if they end up going that route, and like maybe the fact that they are even doing the what if show in animated form is kind of a gateway to kind of let that out there, introduce it to the public, and see, if they'd be on board with that kind of thing in general. Like,
Right.
Like, would you like to see them like tell stories? Would you like to see Marvel characters, like existing ones, for instance, have a standalone kind of one-off thing, like Captain America? If they wanted to make a Captain America movie and just cast someone else and just tell a completely separated like story about that, do you think that'd be a good thing for them to do?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be fine.
Or do you think people would be interested in it though, or do you think that everyone's like the general public is so tied to like the MCU and the interconnectivity of it that if they found out that like, oh, they're doing this, but it's not Chris Evans and it's not connected to the MCU, like I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I guess there'd be a lot of people that probably feel that way.
I could see, because
I wouldn't.
That would be like the downside to it, and I could see some people feeling that way about it.
Yeah,
but like I said, that's what DC's kind of doing now with like the Batman.
Yeah,
and that's how they're going to do all their movies now. I don't see anybody saying like, "Pshaw, I'm not going to go see the Batman because it's not connected to Justice League."
Right? Nobody's saying that.
Yeah, so like I could see some people having hesitations with it. Because I do think one of the big draws for the general audience when it comes to Marvel is the fact that it's this giant soap opera.
Yeah.
And it's all connected. Because you're invested in it. You know what I mean? It's like they've been around for, whatever, 10, 15 years almost at this point, 20 some odd movies. Like, I think that's a big appeal. But I also, like I said, I think it can be quite a big detriment, man. Like, because you just lose the freedom of being able to tell your individual stories, like, so. But nevertheless, you got anything else you want to add? I think we can pretty much wrap it up elsewise.
Yeah.
As everybody saw, we did lose John here. He had to hop off here, so we could just like say that he froze like he used to every once in a while. So, But there's John here. I'll go ahead and give a quick sign off for John, and then Rick, you can give everyone where you're at. So you can just follow John there at Nightwing__ K on the tweeters and the Instagrams, I believe. So he's right there. And Rick, where can everybody find you online, sir?
You can follow me over on Instagram at Sir Rick Metz.
All right, plain and simple,
Plain
straight
and
to the
simple.
point. You can also follow me at Bifo. I post more on Instagram than I do anything else. So, but I'm at Bifo on all social media platforms. So you can go and follow me there. And then again, guys, do not forget you can submit topics and questions for us to address on this very show by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Every Wednesday, we do the collectible reviews. Most recently, I had the little room collection preview tour up on the channel now, so you can go and check that out. More reviews will be coming down the line, obviously, and then every Friday we do our live stream. So normally around 9 p.m. is when we start, so you can come hang out with us there, chat whatever you want, movies, movie news, collectibles, whatever. But yeah, that'll do it, guys. So don't forget to like and subscribe, share the video, do all that sorts of fun stuff. And oh yeah, if you can also watch this in podcast form or listen to it in podcast form on Spotify, iTunes, whatever, it's on all the podcast services. Just search Honest and Uneducated and subscribe to the podcast feed as well. But other than that, guys, take care, and that's it. So I'll see you next time.